And how about that cigar? Well, I am rolling solo again this week, and we wish Matt Ty a very, very speedy recovery. And just hope he and everybody else that may be struggling with some kind of illness gets better soon. So, thank you everyone for tuning in and listening and watching How About That Cigar live from the Drew Estate Studios. Welcome to episode number 87. Please remember to like and share to all your favorite cigar groups and let them know that this week we are doing a special giveaway tonight and also a place for people to watch and get ideas for holiday gifts for loved one, family member, friend, hated colleague, whatever it might be for cigar gifts and accessories. As always, we are coming live from the Drew Estate Studios, and they would like to announce that today, now shipping both Undercrown Shady 20 and Undercrown Dojo Dogma Maduro to Drew Diplomat retailers nationwide. Both the Undercrown Shady 20 and Dojo Dogma Maduro share a powerhouse blend that is similar to the Undercrown Corona Viva. Both cigars feature a toothy Mexican San Andreas Maduro wrapper, spicy Connecticut stock cut Habano binder, and showcase the highest quality Nicaraguan and Brazilian fillers. The Shady 20 is a 5x50 box press Bellicoso that is well aged and packs a punch while remaining both smooth and sophisticated during the entire smoke. The Dojo Dogma Maduro is unique with the core vitolas of Undercrown Maduro as a 6x56 box press Toro that is packaged in a stunning 10-count box that also signifies that the cigars are limited edition release for 2020. For more info, please visit drewestate.com. Well, this week, not a whole lot going on in the world. Just a virus still thing happening, I guess. Chuck Yeager, the guy to break the sound barrier, passed away, I think yesterday. We give him a salute and thanks for your contribution to all things aeronautics. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, we are going to be giving something away to a viewer tonight. So comment, ask questions, make fun of us. It's all good. In the world of sports, Minnesota Vikings, I wouldn't call it a win. I would call it, I don't know. It was painful, but they got it done. They got a win. So a win is a win. The Pack obviously is the Pack. Aaron Rodgers is a stud. It's hard to hate him, but he's just so good. So with that out of the way, I am going to bring on our special guest, and we're going to talk about Christmas, holidays, all that jazz, and talk what gift ideas and things that we can try and help those who are trying to gift loved ones. And as always, our guest segment is sponsored by Corona Cigar Company. Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com is the internet's largest and easiest to use virtual cigar store. Corona Cigar Company offers you the finest handmade cigars, humidors, and cigar accessories at the absolute lowest possible price. You will also find unique and limited cigars containing Florida sun-grown tobacco. As a proud American, president and founder of Corona Cigar Company, Jeff Borshowitz believed it was possible to bring cigar tobacco farming back to Florida. At Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com, you'll find the best selection anywhere in the world of cigars containing the special Florida sun-grown tobacco. If you live in Florida or just visiting, be sure to visit any of the great Corona Cigar locations in downtown Orlando, Sand Lake, Lake Mary, and also the Davidoff of Geneva Lounge in Tampa. For more info on all of that, please visit coronacigar.com and floridasungrown.com. gmail.com. And without further ado, please give our special guest from Developing Palates, the surgeon himself, John McTavish, a warm welcome.
Garrett, brother, how's it going?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on. It's always nice to be on a show. It gives me an excuse to smoke for me and not the endless amount of cigar reviews that we seem to be doing this time of the year. So, I can relax. I can actually have a adult beverage with my cigar. I'm happy to come on the show. Thanks for remembering me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm super grateful. And as people may know, John is pinch hitting for Erica Tormson from Cigar Dojo, who was unable to attend this evening. So I am thankful to you, John, for coming on short notice. Can you let us know what you're smoking and drinking tonight?
So as we were talking in the green room, I went digging through my humidor that I keep for my smoking pleasures. Everyone's tends to have their sort of this is my special humidor. And I was digging through and trying to figure out timing for cigars, and came across a Hoya Silver, which I've not lit up, embarrassingly, not lit up in probably 6-8 months. It's a great cigar. It's a good size. This looks like the Toro. It's a box press, which I'm a big fan of a box press. Very comfortable. I can put it in my mouth and play with my hands. I don't have to worry about the cigar popping out. And I went pretty easy drinking tonight. I went with the Tomatin 12. It's not highbrow tonight, but it's exactly, I think, what will go nicely with the cigar without overpowering it, and good for the weather. As you can see behind me, it's beautiful and sunny and balmy tonight.
It looks very balmy. Yeah, behind you. Great backdrop.
That's the National Hotel. That's the view you're greeted at the National Hotel in Cuba, and this is certainly this time of the year, and certainly 2020 as a whole. I'd be happy to be at the National smoking a cigar right now. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, absolutely. Well, so as we were talking and as I was kind of reconfiguring what tonight was going to be about, I thought about, let's make a show about gift giving. This time of year, obviously, with the holidays, Christmas, and others that, I get a lot of personal text messages, either on Facebook or, just whatever, of friends and wives and family members who are asking, hey, what's a good cigar gift I can give to so and so. And it got me thinking about dedicating the top end of the show about good gift ideas that we can come up with and give people a good idea of what that would maybe look like.
It's a good call. It's that time of the year. I mean, we're only two weeks out, a little over 2 weeks out. So if you're like me, you're still like, oh man, I got plenty of time to buy gifts. So, right. But I'm in the same boat. I mean, you get known your friends as the cigar guy. So, yep. They have a uncle or brother or cousin or a friend. They're like, yeah, I really want to get them something but I have no idea what they. I don't know anything about cigars. So you get these endless questions. You want to steer them right, but at the same time, you're looking out for a brother or sister of the leaf. You want to make sure they get hooked up properly, right?
Exactly.
You're
right.
Like, how can I hook them up as I would like to be hooked up? So
yeah. So the top of the show, we are going to dedicate to that portion. Second part, we'll get a little bit more into John's story, what he's doing. So for this first part, this is really for loved ones, giving you guys ideas for gifts. And the first thing I just kind of want to show you guys and what we're going to be giving away, which is it is a great little gift idea. This is a nice little, pretty typical travel humidor. Either a 4 or 5 cigar humidor. That this one contains a lighter, cutter, and 5 premium cigars. This little package right here would retail for around $80. You can get this whole thing. And this is given to us by Sodi's Cigar and Pipe, which is located in Oak Park Heights, Minnesota. Big thank you and shout out to Sodi's for providing this for giveaway. But it's a great, this is a great little package. 5 premium cigars, travel case, lighter, cutter. Just about any cigar smoker I know would appreciate a gift idea like this.
100%. And I can't even tell you the number of guys who I know, guys and girls, who are pretty established cigar smokers, and the number of them that I know, and they show up to a herf and they've got their cigars in a Ziploc, and I'm like, "Where's your travel case?" And like, I don't have a travel case. It's like, really, you don't have a like. To me, that seems like an automatic first. But I know tons of people that don't have cigar cases like that, and to me, that like you said, I mean, gosh, you've got your 5 counts, you got your 10 counts, you got your 20 counts, you can run the entire gamut all the way up to the suitcase size. And right, see, there's the party size.
Yeah.
When Garrett's showing up, everyone's getting a cigar.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But yeah, no, it's a no-brainer gift. Keeps your cigars protected, keeps them free. Especially in Minnesota this time of the year, there's going to be a little snow. You want to keep the snow off the cigars, off the accessories. And I got to tell you, man, they're pretty bulletproof. Like, you wouldn't think looking at it that they're well built. I've seen guys accidentally run over them with their car, drop them off the table. They're pretty resilient.
Absolutely. No, and in these cases, it's a Pelican style case, if you're familiar with that. They are waterproof. They float. They're fantastic. They're really great. So this is a great idea.
You can paint them. You can put stickers on them.
And if you're like, well, I think I've seen so-and-so that has a case like that, that doesn't matter. They can.
No.
I have several, and I love them all. So
yeah, I think I have like 7 or 8 cases now, maybe 9. I think I bought a set last Christmas for myself because it came with a cutter and a lighter and a bottle opener.
Yeah.
Accessory acquisition disease is a real thing. I mean, everyone talks about the amount of stuff that cigar smokers buy for cigars.
Yeah.
But accessory acquisition disease is a real thing.
So one of the things that I like to educate people who are buying a gift, no matter what time of year it is to really trust a good tobacconist. And obviously, if somebody's coming to me locally, I have not only places that I can help send people that I know that have employees that are knowledgeable and will put together a good gift for people. Now, if you are unfamiliar of people in your area, please feel free to reach out to me and I can point you in the direction of a good retailer close to you. I'd be happy to do that. But to trust those tobacconists and those people working in the cigar lounges to put together a package, we love to do that. Another just a little package thing. Here's the cool part. Most cigar shops have these empty cigar boxes. Some of them ask, a couple bucks. Some of them just give them away because they have so many. But if you are buying cigars, more than likely they'll give you away, one of their empty boxes to put together a little kit. So if you didn't want to go the route of a travel humidor to bring costs down a little bit, just a few of the accessories that cigar smokers always need. They'll always need to, replenish is these Boveda packs. If you just give them, a Boveda pack, they'll always need a butane of some kind.
Always.
And, there are tons of lighters and different cutters that, you get a lighter, a cutter, and this, and you're in for $50. So you get one of these. And the great thing about some of these brands, Calibri, Zycar, Most of these come with a lifetime warranty. So they're great products. And most of these shops, if you have an issue with any of the products, bring them back to the shop, and you know, they're great about customer service and making sure that they'll either replace it or oftentimes they'll even send it in for you. So um, I want to kind of get the fear of going to the cigar shop and you not knowing what to get them. Let the experts really kind of help guide that process for you, and it can be fun putting together a little package.
Especially this time of the year, the tobacconists are pretty going to be pretty used to. Speaking as a former tobacconist, pretty used to people coming in and not having a clue. And I mean, they do have a lot of training on how to help you, and they are really looking to help you. Whatever budget you're trying to meet, they will help you meet
Yep.
that budget. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions, try to get a sense of what you're looking for and what kind of person they're buying for. There's going to be lots of options. I was just thinking, last Christmas, one of the things that I got, it seems really silly, but of all the toys and tools that I have, I didn't have a bleed and adjustment tool. Like I've got, I don't know
Hmm,
how many lighters now. I didn't own a single bleed or
great.
adjustment tool. And honestly, it's one of the most, right next to a draw tool, it's pretty much the most important tool to have because you got to be bleeding and adjusting your lighters between fills. And to be honest, I could probably have 50 of them and hand them out because most of the cigar smokers I know also never think to buy it for themselves.
Yeah, you're right. Can you tell us a little bit about what a bleed and adjustment tool is and what it does?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you're going along, you got a lighter, it runs out of butane, as it always happens at the worst possible time. And the instinct is just to refill it with butane when it runs out. Now, you can do that. However, most manufacturers recommend that you actually want to use a bleed tool. And what that does is the end here where you put the butane in, it gets rid of any air that's been trapped in there because every time you fill the lighter, there's some residual air either in the lighter or as a part of that filling process. So you'll oftentimes, and I hear this all the time online, where a guy says, I bought a lighter, or I got a lighter as a gift, I used it for 6 months, 8 months, and then just stopped working on me. And I got to tell you, more often than not, especially as a former tobacconist, I can't tell you the number of lighters that I fixed. And all I needed to do is take a little bleed tool, push it in there, and you hear the hiss. There's so much air trapped in there, hiss, 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 until it's completely empty. Adjust it down from because a lot of people turn them up too high, and that's also a problem. Now on mine, this is a wonderful Zycar product. I've got this big adjustment knob, but that's not always the case. On a lot of lighters, the adjustment knob is just this tiny little portion, and you actually need a tool. So a lot of times there's a tool that will both do an adjustment and do a bleeding for you. It seems like such a silly thing, such a simple thing, but to be honest, it's an enormous part of my toolkit. Now I carry it everywhere I go, and more often than not, when I'm out at a HERF, which is a gathering of people who smoke cigars, invariably someone says, "Hey man, do you mind if I borrow your bleed tool?" Because cigar lighters eventually run dry, and guys and girls, they tend not to want to borrow somebody else's lighter. It's sometimes, I don't know, people feel weird about it, so they want to fill their own. So you give them the tool, and then they can purge it, is what it's called, bleed it, and then put some more butane in it, and away you go. So
Yeah,
wonderful little gift idea.
that's a great gift idea. And most shops are going to carry all those accessories. And it's just another one of those thoughtful things that your average person typically doesn't know about, and a cigar smoker would really appreciate. And like you said, you can't have too many because I don't know how many of those I've lost over the years, you
Oh
know.
yeah,
And so, uh, great idea. You brought up another one too, in that was a um, another thought escapes me. A draw tool.
draw tool.
Draw tools are fantastic. Um, for those who don't know, this is a handmade product. And while there are cigars that rarely, or maybe in my experience, have never had an issue with drawing, there are some that are more prone to drawing, especially Cubans. And by using a draw tool, what it does is it kind of bores a little hole, and you pull it out, and hopefully you only have to do that once, and it frees up any of the, sometimes there's a little twist that happens in that rolling process that creates a blockage that doesn't give you good airflow. So a draw tool is another great accessory for any cigar smoker.
I don't know about you, Garrett, but I've also seen a lot of people use them when you're smoking a cigar, and there's a lot of people like to smoke a cigar way down, probably a lot further than I go. But it gets pretty hot. I mean, you really you can feel it on your fingers. So what they'll do is they'll actually take the draw tool and they'll put it into the side of the cigar, and they'll hold on to the remainder of the cigar with the draw tool. And it's a convenient way. It plugs the hole, so there's no smoke being drawn out of the hole. But I see guys all the time. They'll put the draw tool on the side, and it's called nubbing it, and they'll smoke it all the way down. And it's a pretty versatile tool. As you say, sadly, Cuban cigars tend to. If you know someone who's a Cuban cigar smoker, you probably want to get them a draw tool. Certainly with non-Cuban products, it's rare that I have to use my tool.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean I don't have one. I absolutely always have one in my toolkit as well.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for going off camera a few times here. I'm looking for our, I should say Matt's draw tool, and he's got it somewhere else right now. But I was going to show you how that nubbing tool works. But it's great for not only relieving a potentially plugged cigar, but also when you get down to the nub, it saves your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a proverbial roach clip for the cigar smoker.
It's a classy roach clip for the cigar smoker.
It is. And then I saw you pull up. Yeah,
got to have a cigar stand. I mean, it's
yeah.
So again, and part of the reason we're talking about this is a lot of people don't think about these things. But I mean, sure, I could sit here and hold my cigar all night, but there are times where I want to set my cigar down, or maybe it's windy, or maybe I'm eating and drinking and smoking. And if I've got a drink in this hand and I've got food in this hand, I need to do something with my cigar. I could set it on the edge of something, but we've all been there. Set it on the edge of something. Next thing you know, it gets knocked into an ashtray, gets knocked on the ground. And, there's a variety of different cigar stands. This one's fairly inexpensive. This is one that travels all over the world. But it flips down into a very handy. So in that case you were showing earlier, this slides in there beautifully, and then it expands out. It's got a variety of different settings depending on how windy it is, and you can get these in basically 1,000 different variations. This is one of the more simple ones, but there's some really classy ones made of wood, or there's ones that are actually machined out of aluminum that I've seen. That I think I own 2 or 3 of them. And so, I mean, certainly you think of something like that and you're like, oh, what is that, $2-3? You can go all the way up to $100 or more on a cigar stand. And there's some like actual showroom pieces that are out there. So absolutely.
Yeah. And another great gift idea that I've seen given as gifts a lot, those stands. I've been grateful to get a few handmade stands from people, and that's another really cool crafty thing. If you're crafty, hey, that's a great, if you can think or come up with an idea for, a little something for a cigar to stand on, another.
I've got one for you, Garrett.
Here.
Especially, I'd imagine in Minnesota, because there's a lot of hunting. So what I see is deer or elk antlers, and if you lop off the end of the antler, so you got a spare antler or whatever, or it's broken off, you can turn that into a pretty amazing cigar stand. And I know a few guys who do that every year when they go hunting. They bring the antlers back and then they cut them into 15, 20 handmade cigar stands, and they make for a phenomenal gift.
That's a fantastic idea. Also, so let's talk about cigars when we're giving gifts for cigars. Now, depending on the budget, if you know nothing about the person at all, and I'm coming to you, John, you're working a humidor, and I say, I want to give a couple decent cigars for my whatever, you know, how do you approach that conversation and what do you suggest?
Well, before you get to the store, just a little word of advice: help your local tobacconist. Sneak into your partner or friend's humidor if you can. Snap some photos. We've all got cell phones on us,
Mhm.
or sneakily ask them what kind of cigars they smoke and write it down. It really helps your tobacconist because, to be fair, you walk into a typical tobacconist, they might have 50, 70, 100, 200, 300 different facings of cigars, and it
Yep.
can be pretty overwhelming. But if you can give them a sense of even one or two brands, the tobacconist is going to be sharp enough to say, okay, John smokes the Drew Estate Undercrown Maduro. Okay, I already have a sense of, based on that, we can either get him more Drew Estate Undercrowns, or maybe we can branch out from that and get him something from another manufacturer that's in the same flavor ballpark.
Yep.
And that gives him a good launching point because, there are certainly a wide range of cigars out there, and it can be overwhelming. And if you can give your tobacconist a little bit of a help, that would be great. If you can't, that's okay too. Again, as a tobacconist, I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. I'm going to ask, what brands do you typically see them smoke? Do they smoke typically one kind of cigar? Because there are a lot of guys and girls out there that, it's not my thing. I like variety, but there's a lot of people out there that, they like their Perdomos, they like their Fuentes, they like their Drew
Mhm.
Estates. That's all they smoke. That's like literally the one brand, and that's great information to know.
Yep.
But based on that, I'm going to branch out and try and either go into the lighter strength category, the middle strength category, even the heavier strength category. If as a tobacconist, if I'm going blind, I'm probably going into lower to middle strength category because
Okay.
typically it's the more experienced cigar smoker that will tend to smoke the fuller, heavier cigars. And at the end of the day, your goal is not to give them something that maybe would be a little too much for them.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And if you could even, if you're in a position to steal a band or two
Mm,
out of their smoking area, even better.
absolutely.
But like John said, if taking some pictures, if you can snap a couple pictures of their humidor, of their smoking area, and again, they're going to ask a lot of questions. If you don't have that information, then what do they like to drink? What do they like to eat? What do they, so be prepared. Excuse me, be prepared to answer
A lot of
a
questions.
lot of questions if you don't have some of that information. But they, you know, they'll get there.
They'll get there. I mean, again, tobacconist is really just trying to ensure that you get the right gift idea and it's tailored to the person. And keep in mind they're kind of going in blind. They don't know this person you're buying for, so they have to, in a very short period of time, especially when it's busy Christmas period, they have to get to know that person very, very quickly. John Lovell mentions a comment, great comment. Do they
Yep.
like spicy foods? Because there's a lot of people who do not like spicy foods. Top question. I love spicy food. I live for spice. So
Yep.
based on that, they go, okay, maybe he'll like something with a little bit of pepper in it, maybe a little bit of baking spice. That probably tells them that their palate can handle something a little bit more más intenso. But if they say no, no, how does he like his coffee? Does he drink coffee? Does he like cream in his coffee? That tells a lot of things to the tobacconist.
Yep. Absolutely. So those are all the typical questions that tobacconist is going to approach that conversation with. So just be prepared for that when doing cigars. But if again going back to all the accessories and all, if it's a cigar smoker and they're an aficionado, quote unquote, they're gonna love all the toys.
Absolutely.
Can't go wrong there. So if buying a cigar is, you're not sure what they smoke, going with the accessory pack is a perfect gift idea for the
100%.
cigar smoker. Awesome. Well, any other ideas around gifting for gifting help for people who are looking to purchase something?
100%. So you can see that I'm definitely kitted out for the cold weather. Think about. I think you guys call them knit caps. We call them toques. But you can see I'm wearing a very, very stylish. Well, you can't actually buy this; you have to weasel this. But a really nice, comfortable toque comes in handy. And one thing that's often overlooked is really good smoking gloves. Now I've got a pair of Carhartt gloves here, which are more for the down to about 40 degrees freedom thereabouts. 40 to 60 degrees freedom. These are good. If I go colder than that, I'm going to need something a little bit more insulated with Thinsulate. And I can't tell you, great gift because I probably burn through a pair of gloves every 2 seasons. Invariably I get ash on them. I burn a hole through them. So I often need one pair for the mild weather, and then I've got my other pocket here. I've got my much more intense, warmer gloves when it gets really cold and the snow starts falling. But you wouldn't think of that as a cigar accessory. Very much is a cigar accessory.
Yeah, especially for those who are in Canada and the northern states of the U.S. Smoking gloves and hat, great gift idea. And if you're also for those in the northern states in Canada, the mini cigar tins, another great idea because a lot of times you don't have time to smoke, a large full size cigar, and enjoying one of those little minis is perfect. And yeah.
If your person you're buying for likes to smoke in their automobile, I wish I had that freedom. I do not, but if I did, one thing that's really handy to have, because cars don't come with ashtrays anymore, is a little portable cigar ashtray. There's a number of different manufacturers that make them. I know Zycar makes a pretty slick one.
Great one.
It's got a little flip-out lid. Again, seems like such a silly thing, but it's got a little stand in there that you can put your cigar in, so you're driving safe, being safe, not dropping a cigar on your lap, and it keeps the ashes contained to the container. And then when you get where you're going, you can take the container out of the vehicle, empty it, and it doesn't stink up the car with ashes. So that's a really nice thing for like I said, people who have that freedom to smoke in their vehicle.
Yeah, and there's other car accessories too. There's a company
Whiff out.
Whiff Out is a fantastic. I've got it in my car, and it's magical.
It is magical.
How it pulls the scent of cigars out of your car. It's like a car scent. It's almost like Febreze on steroids for cigar smokers. It's fantastic. So check out Whiff Out as another great gift idea for those who do smoke in the car.
And now I have a really out there idea, and this is really more for the partners of cigar smokers. And I have a partner who doesn't particularly like cigar smoking or the smell of cigars.
Yeah.
There's a product called Smart Mouth out there, and if you've ever tried to get rid of cigar breath, if you've had a bunch of cigars, it can be really tough to get rid of cigar breath. You can pick it up in any CVS or any grocery stores. Most grocery stores carry it. It's called Smart Mouth. It's an activated mouthwash, and I got to tell you, Garrett, in all my time smoking, I've never found a product that can knock out cigar breath like Smart Mouth. It's a single pour. It's got 2 slots on it, and it will absolutely knock out cigar breath in the evening. I usually do it, before I go to bed, and then once in the morning, and completely knocks out cigar breath.
Interesting. And can you find that on Amazon or there?
Yeah, absolutely. Amazon, any local CVS or pharmacy will have it on the shelf. They have toothpaste as well. Toothpaste works really well for travel. So I always, when I'm traveling around the world, I take the toothpaste a little bit easier than the liquid. But if I could just auto order Smart Mouth to my house, I would. Because like I said, it's near magic. It takes my partner from not wanting to come anywhere near me to she'll actually kiss me on the mouth after I use Smart Mouth. So it's a good one. I think we got another pretty awesome suggestion from the comment box there.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about Guyaberas?
Yeah, Guayabera.
Guayabera.
I don't know much about Guayabera.
All right. I can
So
talk
you take
loads
it.
about Guy Bears.
Take it.
All right. So a Guayabera is really a classy. I mean, cigar smoking I think is pretty classy, but it classes things up a little bit. Now you wouldn't want to be wearing a Guayabera this time of the year, but when it gets warmer in the summertime, you're out smoking in the heat or humidity, depending on if you're southern United States. Guayaberas are a really beautifully handcrafted cigar shirt. Now, what makes them a cigar shirt is a couple different things. They have a number of different pockets. So they've got typically 2 pockets on the chest and then 2 pockets at the waist. And that's for carrying cigars up here and then your accessories down here. They tend to have some really nice lines in them. So I can't tell you the number of times that I've worn a Guayabera out to a cigar dinner. If I've been traveling to the DR, Nicaragua, Cuba, they're really, really nice. Believe it or not, the way they're designed, I think the knit actually tends to repel cigar smoke quite well. So versus a cotton shirt, which tends to, I find, really, really absorb smoke, it's a really classy gift, especially if you know the person's size. You can get a variety of different styles. They've got short sleeve, long sleeve, different colors, different cuts. You can get really high-end, expensive ones for, if you're literally going out for a really classy dinner. And I probably own, I want to say 8 or 9 different Guayaberas. And I typically pack them all when I'm traveling for cigar-related stuff. And typically, though, you can get them in a cotton. I think most Guayaberas are come in a linen. And the advantage of a linen is that in the hot and humid weather, it's really fantastic for keeping that heat and humidity out of your skin.
That and I learned something new, and that's, hey, I love it.
Killer suggestion, John. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, John. That's great. And if you saw the little page that I shared up there, Guayabera is Guayabera, and there is no shortage of options when you hit the Googler.
I have a Fuente Guayabera that I picked up at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival. I saw it thinking of you, and I was like, oh man, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. It's just one of those special Guayaberas that I carry if we're doing a Fuente night or whatever. But that's, to me, if somebody bought me a Guayabera for Christmas or for my birthday, I would be over the moon.
Me too.
See, now you have a gift idea that you can put on your wish list.
Now I do.
That's
absolutely. Right. And again, you guys, if you have loved ones who are struggling with knowing what to buy you, just send them the link to the show afterwards. Front part of the show is going to be about this, and then we're going to nerd out here in just a few minutes. But some great gift ideas. And if you guys have any great gift ideas, please leave them in the comments, and we'll be sure to get those up and rocking. All right. I think we covered a good amount of Christmas ideas. And
I think if you can't come away with a gift idea from that segment, I think you're not listening. You're not paying attention.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Well, hey, let's get into nerd talk.
Let's do it.
And John, talk to us about kind of your origin story and a little bit of Developing Palates and how that came about.
Gosh, how much time do you have? So I got started, boy, oh boy, I think it was about 2012, and I was just a cigar smoker like everybody else, and I've got a weird memory. I can remember a lot of things really, really well. I have a really tough time remembering other things, and one of the things I have a tough time remembering is when I'm drinking, when I'm smoking, I found a really tough time remembering the flavor notes of what I was smoking or drinking. So a good friend of mine said, hey, just start writing it down. So I literally started keeping a cigar journal. And from there, the cigar journal, I had a buddy, and he read them and said, hey, these reviews are actually pretty good. You should start publishing them. Started my own cigar site called, gosh, I don't even remember now. Something with ash in the title. Long ash, fat ash. small. I don't remember. It's a long time ago. I was only around for I want to say 8 or 9 months, and my agreement was, listen, I'll do the reviews. I enjoy the creative part of it. As a technology guy, I do not want to manage the site. I've got enough on my plate.
Right.
I don't, like when you do technology as a job, or I've done technology as a job,
Yep.
I don't want to do it. I do a lot of other technical things. I don't need that headache. Unfortunately, got to a point where he couldn't manage the site anymore. So I was literally weeks away from just turning in my review badge and being done. And I got picked up by Cigar Federation. So this would have been early 2013. So I was with Cigar Federation for, oh gosh, a really, really, really long time. I want to say 5 years, really great 5 years. And then they went through some ownership changes, and that looked to me like a good time to change gears. And some good, I mean, we're all kind of good friends in the industry. I mean, all of us, we're pretty tight knit media group. And Aaron Loomis and June Liu from Developing Palates, who I've known for many, many years. Aaron had actually been after me for some time. He said, you should really come aboard because what we really need is another panel member. So I came aboard Developing Palates, I think right around January of 2018. That sounds about right to me, 2018. And so I've been doing Developing Palates ever since. So I've done, I've done the video side of things. I've done the shows. I've done Partagas Festival in Havana, going all the way back to 2013, actually, almost every year. And then, of course, as I'm doing tonight, have done a number of different shows. I launched the first, I believe, pairing show for spirits, alcohol, really, and cigars, called Sharing Our Pairings, which is still being carried today. Love those guys. And, of course, I do the reviews, as I was talking about at the top. This is the time of the year where we're all kind of scrambling to get our cigars in for Cigar of the Year. So I'm certainly trying to do that for Developing Palates as we try to make that cutoff.
Yeah. How is that going for you?
Well, some days are better than others. Depends on what I'm reviewing. We had a good chuckle last weekend because coincidentally both June and I decided to do a doubleheader unbeknownst to me. And it was one of those times where, unfortunately, both cigars were a bit of a letdown. So you kind of have like basically a Saturday where you start in the morning and then do it in an afternoon, and that's about right for me. 2-3 cigars in a day is probably my normal cap, unless I'm in Cuba or Nicaragua or whatever. So at the end of it, I was like, boy, that was kind of a letdown of a smoking day. And we actually got talking about that during one of the reviews, one of the live segments we were doing. And June had the exact same experience with the exact same cigars. And I said, well, it's kind of nice that you got to experience that along with me. That's, every cigar can't possibly be a winner. There's a lot of brands out there, and everyone's got different tastes. So it just happened that June and I's palate tends to align most of the time, and we happen to land on the same cigars that day. So it's kind of funny how that worked out.
That is funny. Yeah, and this has been a weird year anyway, where we didn't get all of the releases that were probably scheduled to come out. And I mean, the big show didn't happen, which usually brings about a bunch of cigars, and so this has been a weird year anyway. Over the last couple weeks, I've been looking at my list of the 2020 releases of cigars, and it's it's only our second year in media, but already this year is, at least I want to say, it's half the cigars. So in some ways it makes it easier, in some ways it makes it more difficult.
Yeah.
To get that top 10 list or to get the cigar of the year. So,
well, I mean, on a personal note, not having any of the trade shows, personally, I mean, obviously it's pretty impactful in the industry, but personally it's a huge bummer because being all the way up here in Canada, as I'm sure you can imagine, getting cigars up here, very, very challenging. And that's kind of a critical time of the year and there's kind of a funny story related to that, but I really rely on going to the trade show to get cigars for review so that I'm essentially set for the next 6 to 8 months, because it is extremely difficult and sometimes extremely expensive to get cigars up here to review. And I mean, I can tell you the trade shows come up against weddings before, that I've said, look, I can't come to the wedding. The trade show comes first, because without that trade show, without those samples, I'm basically dead in the water till the next year. So
Right.
kind of a big deal.
So for you to get cigars in Canada, what does that look like?
Well, first of all, let's see if there's any Canadian Border and Services agents listening to the show tonight.
No, there's not.
The challenge, of course, is that we have extremely high tobacco taxes in Canada. I think probably top 5 in the world.
Mhm.
We don't hold the torch to Australia, but we're getting there. So it's really, really difficult. I mean, obviously, I absolutely recommend supporting your local tobacconist. However, I'm like many people in cigar media. It is not my full-time job. I do not make a fortune doing cigar media, so I rely on review samples in a lot of cases. We do buy now most of our product, but if I go into my local store, the price that I'm paying to pick up a cigar for review is typically somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 times what the retail value would be in the United States. So that becomes
Mhm.
a pretty nonplussed thing right out of the gate. So if you want to send me something in the mail, well, guess what? Canadian Border Services are going to open that package. They're going to take a look and say, oh, what do we have here? We have some tobacco products. Time to send Mr. McTavish a little bill in the mail
Yep.
along with his selection of cigars. And sometimes that bill is definitely in the triple digits. Yeah.
Yeah, I know our brothers in Australia, they certainly feel that. Um, they feel that pain as well. Uh, so do you get many packages under the radar?
All of my packages come in under the radar.
Okay.
So then, I mean, the nice thing about me traveling, especially being a Canadian, is typically in a year, I'd be down in the U.S., anywhere from 3 to 6 times in a year. And every time I come back, I can bring duty free. I can bring 50. I can actually bring more than 50, and then just depending on my negotiation skills, negotiate how much I want to pay at the airport when I come back. And that's typically the route I've gone in the past.
Yeah.
The shipping a package to me is a much riskier endeavor, because they could bill me, they
Mhm.
could seize the package, which I've done on occasion. So there's a lot of outcomes, and all of them, for the most part, are bad. So we've been scrambling a little bit in the new world order since gosh, first quarter of this year. We had to start doing that when we ran out of cigars to review. So big credit to Aaron Loomis, who's worked very, very hard at making sure that I have cigars, that I can keep up with the reviews. And thanks to all the manufacturers. We have partnered with Corona Cigar Company. Love Jeff, love his stores. He's been really, really great for Developing Palates, because we picked up a lot of cigars there. We've got a store out of Wisconsin, Lake Country, that we go to as well. There's a few different stores we go to try and spread the love around. So Aaron's job is to sort of source the cigars, and then figure out whether it's balloon or submarine, how best to get those up to Canada.
I love it. Now, last week we had on John Strange, who's in the UK,
I saw that.
and John just let me know the other day that if he has cigars sent to him from either Nicaragua or Mexico or Honduras, there are no duty taxes. Is there anything like that for you? If it can come directly from Nicaragua, or they're just like, oh, that's tobacco, you're getting hit.
Yeah. So I live in the part of Canada where tobacco is absolutely a no-fly. I can get bottles of booze sent to me, and because our alcohol taxes are very, very low, somebody could ship me a bottle of bourbon, and I can just pay the essentially what amounts to the sales tax, which is nothing really.
Right.
But tobacco tax, the government is getting their pound of flesh, and they're very eager to get it. Now, if I travel east, which often I'll do, especially if I'm going down to another country, Cuba, Nicaragua, many times I'll fly through Toronto. Toronto tends to be a little more forgiving because of their close nature to New York and New York, Michigan.
Detroit.
So because they're so close to the border, people can go across the border and pick up stuff and come back. So they've actually had to pull back their tobacco tax as a result of that. So the tobacco tax is a little bit less there. However, they view alcohol a lot more aggressively than we do in the West. So it's kind of a reversal of fortune there. The alcohol is what will get you snagged at border services there versus tobacco, where most of the time it's just a conversation and you just kind of figure it out. So it's not
Sure.
tends not to be a big deal.
Now, in the States, we have lobbyists like CRA and the trade shows that put in a lot of money and things to battling to keep our cigars. Is there anything like that in Canada?
We did have an initiative, a really great initiative from some retailers in Ontario and Quebec and parts of Western Canada that got together to fight plain packaging, which was announced, a little bit over 2 years ago now. I'm a little bit more of a cynic, being an older guy. I know I don't look it, but I'm an older guy. I've been around the block a few times. I kind of read the writing on the wall with that one. I certainly supported their initiative. However, eventually what ended up happening was plain packaging went through, kind of expected, which you can have some pretty negative impacts on the tobacco industry as a whole here. But that was really the only organized effort that I've seen in Canada because I think they realize when the government makes up their mind, we just there's no lobby group that's going to be able to change the mind. And B, a lot of these efforts really that ship sailed back in the 90s, and it's your chances of overturning any of that or even resisting any of that are pretty much slim to none. So, really important to support your CRA, support your, if you're not a CRA member. I mean, and I preach it every show I go on, man, like you do not want the Canadian system coming to you. And if you watch some of the publications, some of the media publications, Garrett, I don't think there's a day that goes by where I don't see a park ban, a beaches ban, okay, well, there's an indoor smoking ban, but we'll exempt you for now, in every county, every city, every state, and I mean Texas, Florida, everywhere. So it's really important that you support those initiatives because there are constantly groups working hard to make sure that cigar smokers cannot enjoy a cigar product as an adult.
Yeah, cigarrightsofamerica.org. They make it super easy to sign up, and they'll even have petitions right there on their site that you can sign and submit to your local representatives. They've done all the work for you, and please go be a member. It's a fantastic organization, and if Canada and Australia and the UK aren't examples of why we should have a lobbyist group like this, I don't know what is. So really go and support those to continue to keep this culture growing and out from under the thumb of government.
Preach it. Stay at our humidors.
That's right. So if a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, does a Canadian still apologize?
Not only do they apologize to the tree, they apologize to anyone who may or may not have been offended by the tree falling in the forest. And they might even take on personal ownership of going in there and replanting that tree because, you have to take ownership of the forest. Only Canadians will apologize for walking into a wall. That is a thing that I can't tell you the number of times I've personally done that and or witnessed other perhaps inebriated people also do.
Yeah, it was so funny. I worked for a company that had an office in London, Ontario, and worked there for a couple weeks doing a project. And in the States, when people would pass you in the hallway, if you had to move, it was here in the States we say excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, it's sorry.
Mm-hmm. It's an oft misunderstood phrase. I think Canadians, we understand it based on the context.
Right.
It is a catch-all. It can mean, hey, pardon me. It can mean, I'm sorry that happened to you. Like I'm offering condolences. We can also use it, and very often do, as a sarcastic, screw you, buddy. In fact, I think when people think of the Canadian sorry,
Right.
sorry is actually the sarcastic, cynical. I'm not actually sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
And so with where Canada is and where you're at with cigars, have you ever considered moving to the States?
Every day, especially when we get into October, November. I'd be. I mean, I'd be more than happy. I think my wife is absolutely on board at this point. Nice little place in California. We've talked about Austin before. I would be more than happy. The challenge, of course, is that even before the current environment in the United States, it's actually quite challenging for someone outside the United States to get a working visa in the United States. You have to prove that your skills are specifically. We got a remark from comment from Skip Martin, and he might think I'm just shining him on, but I was quite serious. Austin would be a fantastic place to move to. Austin, in very many ways, actually reminds me of kind of Alberta and Calgary, just sort of, except a much cooler place that has a lot more culture than Calgary does. But I digress. It's really tough for someone outside of the United States. I would have to have, and I do have skills that are unique, but you have to be able to demonstrate that in such a way that allows you to do that. And typically, I think the way that works is you actually have to have corporate sponsorship. So the corporation essentially has to say, look, we need this worker. This guy has XYZ skills. We can't hire anyone here who has those skills. They have to come work here. And that sort of starts that process of naturalizing you as an American citizen. It's not easy. I've certainly looked into it on more than one occasion. And I would certainly take a position in the cigar industry. I've certainly been on the threshold in the past of having a position potentially in the cigar industry, but never quite worked out. Always tough being a Canadian.
Well, maybe maybe Skip is throwing out some feelers to sponsor the McTavishes.
Always a fan of Weasel Team 6. Look
Right.
what we got here. We talked about this in the green room.
Yeah.
I got a little intemperance on standby here. I wasn't sure how long the show was going to go. I've been saving this intemperance because we're talking about cigars. This is a particular product that is easy to get in the States, extremely tough to get up to me here in Canada. He's oh my gosh, he's talking in science degrees.
What's that letter?
So that is Celsius. That is C is for science.
Well, so it's what 12C is like 50.
Low to mid 50s. Yeah. That's, I mean, for Austin, Texas, 12 degrees. I mean, that's
Really?
apocalypse level. I don't even think they own jackets there, do they?
No, I don't know. They're not allowed.
Now we would call that flip flops and shorts weather. 12 degrees.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thoughts and prayers, Skip.
54. There we go. Yeah, low to mid 50s. For those who are watching the show right now and are curious, my parka, it's not actually that cold. It's just that when you sit outside in the cold for an extended period of time, and you're not moving, as we cigar smokers tend not to, it can really get to you. So it's actually quite balmy, especially for December 8th. It's like 41 degrees, 42 degrees freedom here right now. That is balmy for December. Normally, if I was just out here having a cigar, this would probably be light jacket and maybe insulated pants weather. So, yeah,
I mean,
I'm
that's
I'm happy.
absolutely, we're reaching hardcore. Even here in Minnesota, we got up to 43 degrees today, which,
Woo!
yeah, it's cooking. And even so, tomorrow it may get to 50, which, I mean, it's unheard of.
We not that it's a contest because it definitely isn't when it comes to cold weather. We set a over 200-year record 2 days ago. It was 61 degrees here, which I mean we've had some pretty wackadoodle weather in the past, but 61 degrees in December. I mean, 200-year record gives you a sense of just how
Right.
wackadoodle that is. I'll take it. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
I'm outside. I'm smoking. 61. Take it while you can.
Yeah. And for, the people that live in, Florida and, all the bottom states and get to enjoy your cigars year round, um, you just don't get it.
Mm.
What we have to go through and endure to be able to enjoy our premium cigars year round. But I'm
Well,
sure, the humid states, they have an opposite problem during the summer months, of being too humid. Because even
yeah,
there's, I would say that there's a good 3-4 week period here where it is so humid,
yeah,
you go outside and your cigars start to explode.
yeah.
you know,
Now that being said, I have to tell you the number of times I've gotten into some heated debates about whether it's better to be too hot or too cold, and I think oftentimes what happens is you take somebody who they talk about heat. I mean high 90s or low 100s or even 108 or whatever and high humidity. That's pretty oppressive. However, until you've tried to light up a cigar in minus 30 or lower freedom, and I'm talking freedom degrees because at that point it just doesn't matter anymore.
it doesn't matter.
Celsius and freedom becomes the same.
Right.
You can't smoke. You can't smoke in that weather. You literally can't. I mean, I've done it because I'm
Yeah.
a crazy person.
Right.
But really below minus 15 freedom,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not. And so we talk about the sort of range of cold weather. The range of cold weather from October here to April is a lot more oppressive, I think, than the 2 months that Florida and New York and few different places get really, really, really crappy weather.
Yeah.
But the rest of the year, yeah, you can sit outside and smoke. You're fine. You'll be fine.
Are you a ice fisherman or a fisherman at all?
I've been known to cast a fishing rod, but unfortunately, where I am, it's pretty landlocked. Most of the fishing you do here would be fly fishing.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't get out fly fishing. There's really no lakes here in southern Alberta. A lot of lakes in northern Alberta, but you'd have to basically tow your boat out to either BC or Saskatchewan, which has a million lakes, to do any kind of real boating, real fishing. I don't, no offense to the fly fishermen out there. It's just, to me, fly fishing, I like being in a boat, man. There's something about being out on the water. How about you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I fish all year round. Um, this is kind of the lull period where most of the lakes haven't froze over yet,
Mm,
but I would say typically by this time, ice is starting to get safe.
hmm
But in the lower part of Minnesota, we still don't have ice out on
Yeah.
most of our lakes in the Twin Cities area. Northern Minnesota, by the border, it's already iced out. People actually, the big popular lake in northern Minnesota, Red Lake, the sheriff's department issued a traffic warning on Twitter because there were so many people trying to get some ice fishing done
Yeah.
because none of the lower lakes were frozen or safe enough yet, that too many people were coming up, and they had to say, hey, you know, call your resort, call and make sure that there's a spot available
Yeah.
for you because it is just so packed. So that's how crazy people get about ice fishing around here.
Have you ever gone in? Have you ever gone in the water in sub freezing temperatures.
Oh yeah, yep,
Yeah,
it's happened. A few times. Nothing where I was close to hypothermia.
right.
Typically, just, I mean, you get if I would say, probably on average once or twice a year, you get at least a boot
Yeah,
in the lake. Either you're positioning your house and you accidentally step on a hole that was cut previously by somebody
yeah.
else that isn't quite safe yet. Um, but I've been totally submerged, I want to say 2 or 3 times.
It's an eye opening experience. I think you when you get submerged in near freezing or even sub freezing
Yep,
temperatures, it really gives you an eye opening as to why people can die very quickly,
absolutely.
very
You lose your
quickly.
breath.
Yeah.
And if anybody has done like the polar plunge type situation,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of fundraisers that happen, in the northern states for different organizations where they'll have, they cut out the ice and people jump in and go to a warming house. That, if you've done that, you kind of get a sliver of what it's like,
Yeah.
because when you're not expecting it, it's a whole nother situation of panic, and
Yeah.
your body physically, you lose your breath. It is
Yeah.
such a shock to your system, especially when your face gets in it. Your body's just and you can't breathe.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
So,
It's not a fun experience. I think Bear Grylls was in Manitoba, and I think it was the only time Bear Grylls has ever had to be rescued from a Bear Grylls adventure because he was out there in the wintertime and his gloves got wet, I think, and he couldn't get a fire started. And he was like, I need to get called out because he's like, I will
we'll die.
die. And I
Mhm.
think hypothermia was actually starting to set in. And I was like, yeah, I mean, you can die in the desert without water, and you will die in the desert without water.
Yeah,
But you drop in a northern latitude, cold weather place, you could be dead in 45 minutes, no joke. Like
sure.
it's so, in terms of the hot weather versus cold weather, I will always take the hot weather over the cold weather, no matter how humid it is, no matter how oppressive it is. I can always find a way to light up a cigar.
Agreed. All right. Well, let's move into this week's smokabulary word.
Nice.
And as always, smokabulary is brought to you by AJ Fernandez. Born and raised in Cuba, AJ Fernandez now produces unparalleled premium cigars in Esteli, Nicaragua. The day to day operations at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez are managed under the watchful eye of Mr. AJ Fernandez himself in order to ensure superior quality. The AJ Fernandez portfolio of premium cigars provides blends, strength, and flavor profiles to match the preferences of any premium cigar consumer. Whether it's New World, Dias de Gloria, San Latano, Enclave, or Bellas Artes, you are sure to be satisfied with a premium cigar from AJ Fernandez. All right, and the smokabulary word is barber pole. Now,
Nice.
John, when you think of barber pole, what do you think of?
I'll be honest, and this might get me lit up a little bit, but my initial instinct is I go gimmick. That's kind of where my gut goes to is barber poles. In the past, certainly I don't think in the current state of cigar industry, I think most cigar makers who come up with a barber pole typically are in a boutique situation, so they put a lot more craft into it. But you think about 8, 10 years ago, a lot of the barber pole cigars that were out there, they're really gimmicky cigars. They're pretty, but they really didn't, I don't think, smoke particularly well, at least for my palate.
This was the cigar I actually started the show with,
Well,
and
hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
that's right. Fuente puts this one out every year. It is called In Between the Lines. It is delicious. So if you are in the area of a Fuente dealer, I recommend going out now and getting one of these before they are gone. Um, I wouldn't consider them rare, but it is a annual release that they do. And it's a great barber pole. It's one of those that, is not gimmicky. It is delicious. But what is a barber pole? Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, barber pole is typically at its most basic level is just combining two different types of wrappers, and you can barber pole you can do in a variety of different styles. So that's what I would call a more traditional barber pole in terms of the application. Perhaps not the shape of the cigar because that's unique, but typically, you can get barber poles that are two wrappers. I've seen barber poles, skips in the chat, so he's a great example.
Yep.
He's done some pretty fancy barber poles with a third strip in there, sometimes a fourth strip.
Yep.
So you can get pretty craft with some of the barber poles that are out there. But I think the intent is to try and give you two vastly different profiles from the wrapper, and it does change up as you smoke through it because you'll get different components of those wrappers coming together, which is it's kind of fun.
It is fun. It's we eat with our eyes and we smoke with our eyes sometimes, and like you mentioned at the beginning of that, it's gimmicky until it's not. And the ones that do it right are really the market will dictate what a barber pole will stick, and people are pretty quick to get on either a bandwagon or say, yeah, that didn't hit. So that is this week's Smokabulary, brought to you by AJ Fernandez. And now it is our favorite segment, which is Numero de los Muertos.
De los Muertos.
All right. So, Numero de los Muertos is brought to us by Oveja Negra Brands. They bring you premium smoking experiences forged from tobacco, time, and talent. Comprised of Black Label Trading Company, Blackwork Studio, Dissonant, and Emilio, Oveja Negra Brands provides smokers uncompromising blends renowned for their flavor and lasting impression. Oveja Negra, where art and tobacco collide. Join the flock. Visit ovejanegracigars.com to learn more. All right, John and viewers, this week the number is 16 in Canada.
16 in Canada.
Every year from this.
How many do I get to ask any questions? Is there any details?
This is like a 20 questions.
20 questions. All right. Is it related to animal attacks?
It is not.
It is not related to animal attacks. Man, that just cut off a whole section. Is it unique to a particular province in Canada, or is it across Canada?
No, it is across Canada, and actually,
Canada.
It's global, but its biggest numbers are in Canada.
So there's some good guests in there, and Skip actually listed one of the both hilarious and terrifying ones, which is moose attacks. Yeah. You really can't appreciate seeing the so I sure hope there's not 16 Zamboni accident deaths a year. That would be probably a national tragedy in Canada. But moose attacks, man, I tell you, a 1,200-pound animal running at you, it's no joke. I mean, people talk about bear attacks. It's the moose attacks you got to watch out for. John Lovell, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, moose attacks, absolutely. Up in the boundary waters of, between Minnesota and Canada, I've run into moose, and you cannot appreciate the size and the swimming ability of moose. They
move like hippos through the water. It's nuts.
Crazy. Yeah. They can move in water. I remember the first time canoeing, seeing a moose on the bank on the Canada side, and we were all just like, oh, look at that. It was a big bull, and it's just amazing. And he was like, yeah, I don't want you here. And he came into the water, and the speed that he was coming towards the canoe, we were like, oh my gosh. And it was crazy. So Um, so I'm going to say something here. Skip is almost close.
Oh, all right. John Lovell had a really good guess, which is Avalanche. I actually think it's more than 16, John, because
It is.
in Alberta alone, during the ski season, we probably have 8 or 10 people in the province of Alberta that die from avalanches, either by skiing or ice climbing. I know in British Columbia, because they got a lot more skiing there. I bet it's an even dozen, maybe even 20 people. So I bet the avalanche number in Canada is probably close to 30 or 40.
Yeah,
So
it's up
go ahead.
there. No, I did Avalanche for one of them and included North America, which includes the US and Canada. And again, Skip continues to add great guesses.
Those are great guesses.
Yep.
So now that we've kind of narrowed it into the national drink of Canada, which is maple syrup, can we say it is food related?
No, you can't actually.
I can't.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Um, it's by nomenclature only is the association.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. I know it's not. It's not going to be death drinking alcohol because
mm-mm.
we can handle our booze, but at the same time, there's probably a lot of people dying from alcohol. It's not an animal attack. Is it related to water in any way?
It is not.
Not related to water.
I'm gonna give a clue
All right.
that this is something that is most prominent in the Mennonite communities.
Okay. So you got a few different options in the Mennonite community. So we have quite a number of Mennonites here in Alberta. So my instinct would be a tractor falling on you, but I'm pretty sure that Alberta and Saskatchewan alone, you probably got about 30 or 40 tractor deaths a year. You could potentially have a barn falling on you, but they usually that's a euphemism, isn't it? Skip choking on Canadian bacon. The Mennonites tend not to put up that many barns in a year, so I'd be hard pressed to think that 16 people are dying in barn collapsing accidents. However, I'm going to go on a limb here and say I wonder if it's grain silo related. People
Mm.
who are dying in grain silos could be 16. That sounds like a number. Grain silo deaths. What do you think?
I think that's a good guess, but it's nope.
It's not.
We're still far off. These are really good guess.
These are good guesses.
Yeah, logjam is actually that's a legitimate for people who don't know about the logging industry, especially in Canada, and how they move a lot of logs.
Hmm.
Those that gets dangerous doing those
We have
log
we have
bars.
a national song that goes out every year on the airwaves about the log drivers. It's a little short. So talking about Mennonites, you've got a lot of pig farming. You got a lot of chicken and turkeys. Could it be deaths by pig stampede?
Ooh, that's a good one. No, in this particular statistic may be just I didn't know how well known
Hmm.
this particular thing is. So this is a genetic thing.
A
So
genetic thing.
it's a genetic
Interesting.
illness.
Now I'm trying to think.
It's
Don't.
global. It happens everywhere.
Yeah.
But within the Mennonite communities of Canada, it is prominent there and within French Canadians.
See, we've got a lot of issues with vitamin D deficiencies. I'm wondering if it's death to sunlight exposure, some sort of reaction to the sun, reaction to ultraviolet radiation, puts them into some sort of toxic shock.
Mhm. So no, that's not it. The the ailment is discovered almost immediately after birth. while it can happen and develop more prominently during childhood and adulthood, it's rare. So it's usually discovered soon after childbirth.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you've stumped me pretty good because I'm going through in my head, sort of childhood ailments, and I can't think of a number that would be as low as 16 because that's a very small number.
Okay, here it is for the first time ever, well, I shouldn't say for the first time. I think I had to give the answer a couple other times, but the answer is maple syrup urinary disease.
Oh, good guess, Skip.
And yeah, polio. I mean, so
polio's gone, bro.
Yeah, polio's gone.
Polio's gone.
This maple syrup urinary disease, it was fascinating. I was looking up, strange Canadian, ways for people to die, and why it's called this is because the urine of typically the child smells so sweet.
Yep.
It smells like maple syrup. And how apropos for,
the Canadians
to be, unfortunately, the kind of epicenter of this. And it's these Mennonites, majority of them carry this genetic trait. It's passed on. And also France and French Canadians.
That makes sense.
Who have the prominent.
Do you know if it's is it a kidney failure or a pancreatic failure?
So it has to do with the pancreatic system, and what it affects is their ability to it has to do with blood sugars and everything. It's curable. I think.
Of course, we got universal health care. Everything's curable.
That's right. It's free.
It's free.
Skimp, we will give you. We'll give you a star for your answer.
That's pretty good.
It was.
Yeah. Well played.
Awesome. So that was this week's numero de los muertos.
De los muertos.
Awesome. So now that was a little PSA. The more you know.
The more you know.
Yeah. If your baby pees sweet,
get them to the hospital.
Yeah, get them to the hospital.
If they're in Canada, if they're in the U.S., make sure you got that good, corporate coverage plan before going in.
Yeah.
Cannot be cured with rubbing Epsom salts or anything else. You actually have to take. How
would that work in the Mennonite community, though? Because most of the deaths take place in the Mennonite community, where they don't typically go to hospitals and clinics.
It's actually it is a thing. Like I said, we actually have both Hutterite and Mennonite communities in Alberta. In fact, I think in Alberta and Saskatchewan, we probably have the highest density next to maybe Ontario. But they do tend to come in if it's serious. So like if someone is actually seriously injured, they literally will take the horse and buggy or whatever into town, because most of the time they're around a small town. And a lot of the small towns, depending on the small town, they can handle trauma for the most part. They might have to airlift them. But I used to live in a small town in Alberta. We had a number of Mennonite communities around there. So you'd occasionally basically see them, once a month or whatever. They would come into town. And so if they had dentistry or anything like that, that's typically the time they would get. Like if it was, emergent type situation, that's when they would take care of it. But pretty crappy when it's a newborn, man. That's a rough situation.
It is, yeah. It's sad. All right, now we're going to go into the lightning round.
Nice.
If you could hear the thoughts of one living person for 10 minutes, who would it be and why?
Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle. Because the amount of I love comedians. I love the brains of comedians. I've always aspired to be a comedian. I just love you can't put a comedian in the corner. And you could get 3-4 people ganging up on a comedian, and they're ready to go. Doesn't matter what situation. And that man has an incredible mind for just coming up with the funniest, wackiest combination of things.
Yeah.
So to be in his brain for 10 minutes and just kind of wait around in the random thoughts that he comes up with, I mean, I'm sure I'd have enough material to write a book in 10 minutes.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Great answer. I love it. If you were about to get into a fight, what soundtrack music would come on?
It's got to be something from AC/DC, because that's kind of the fight music up here. Anything by AC/DC, any kind of metal. Probably for those about to rock, or Hell's Bells. Hell's Bells would be a
Yes.
good.
I love it. Somebody a couple weeks ago had an AC/DC too.
Maybe Thunderstruck.
It was Thunderstruck. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. You can choose one of the following. You can hit a home run as a starting pitcher, score a touchdown as a defensive lineman, score a goal in a hockey game as the goalie, or score a soccer goal as the goalie.
Gosh. So I'm really torn on this one because I love hockey. Of course, it's in my genetics. And there is something very, very special about a goaltender scoring a goal. But against my better judgment and my fellow Canadians, there is something very special about seeing a 365-pound fat man running the ball back, because I mean the guy needs oxygen by the time he gets to the end zone, right? And when you see that guy actually carry it and take it in,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's it's just for all the fat guys out there, especially in the cigar industry. It's just you root for the guy, right?
That's right. Yep. No, I love it. I couldn't agree more. All right. If you could bring back any fashion trend, what would it be?
Well, that's a tough one because a lot of the fashion trends that have gone, I'm happy to see them go. However, and this is a wacky thing, I would love to see the idea of dressing up to go back to the movie theater as a thing. Because when you look at like people in the 30s and 40s, when movie theaters were kind of a thing, people were dressed in suits. I mean, they were really dressed like they were going out to the actual theater, not movie theater. And I'm not saying I'd want to do it all the time, but like Alamo House or whatever that does the kind of fancy theater, that would be a really fun experience to see the entire audience kind of dress. I mean, maybe tuxedos might be taking it too far, but to do like a full-on suit to go to a movie as an experience, I think that'd be kind of a lot of fun.
I love that. I love that so much. And even just dressing up to do anything. I mean, sure, you might dress up to go out on a date and, do that to go out to dinner, but to dress up to do, to just go out to the movie theaters or, that I love that. Yeah. Good
Nice.
one. All right. Now we are going to talk about notable smokables. So every week Matt and I talk about one cigar throughout the week that really, really hit the spot. So, John, what notable smokable do you have?
Gosh, I might have to look at my cigar list because I've literally been smoking 2 to 3 cigars a day for like weeks. So I'm trying to think of the last review cigar that we did. I'm going to have to go off.
Thinking, if you want a minute to think, I can give you mine.
That'd be great.
My notable smokable for this week was the Illusione one-off.
Oh, nice.
Recent release from Illusione, and rarely do we see a company come out with 27 different vitolas in a cigar. And Illusione did with the one-off, and I've smoked 6 of the 7, and they are all fantastic. But the one that I had this week, it hit, and it is fantastic.
I'm going to go with because this is recent, so I didn't have to go too far, but this was just at the end of last week. We're kind of talking about this in the green room. The new hotness from Espinosa, which was the Crema de Laranja, Laranja.
Yeah.
That was really, really good. So talking about barber poles, I was kind of going into it going, man, barber pole, I don't know. But it was a really interesting combination of flavors. John has a really good one, which was actually, ironically, coincidentally, the one that I was going to go to. This was unfortunately more than a few weeks ago. The re-release of the Avo Maduro,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to tell you, for an older cigar that's kind of been re-released, like they just killed it. Like the price point's great. The flavor just takes me back to, when you used to be able to get, I don't know why, but Maduros have kind of fallen out of the cigar du jour of the time. Like a lot, we're all over the place now with styles. But man, that just took me back to old school Maduro. Just kind of had ticked all those boxes of chocolatey and balanced. But for recent smokes, that Espinosa, man, that was a nice barber pole that really delivered for me.
Yeah, awesome.
What about you? Sorry, you said it, and I was looking up the.
No, it's all right. It was the
Illusione.
one-off.
Yeah,
have you had them?
I have, and for the most part, I think Dion is one of those guys who blends stuff that I can pretty much just buy blind. And I'm going to be kind of guaranteed like a good experience. Whether it's a great experience kind of depends on the size and whatever. But he has like a floor, which I think makes for a lot of people really love his stuff. So kind of a no-brainer there.
Well, in between Dion and Skip's Candelas, those are the only two Candelas that I really enjoy. That 888 Candela.
Oh, forget about it,
dude.
And that cigar is old now, right? Like that's.
I know.
That's an old cigar.
Time for people to catch on because Candela for so long was this grassy hay stick, and for me, the 888 was the one that really flipped my thinking on it. Like, you can have a good Candela, and Skip came out with his, and
I think you can blend a Candela that still gives you a bit of that Candela influence without being just predominantly grassy, bitter hay. Because I know it used to be a thing, but that's not really an enjoyable flavor profile. So if you can get some of that, but then other tobaccos in there that balance that out, that's a fun experience.
Yep, exactly. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on and pinch hitting, and enjoyed the conversation, the holiday discussion at the top of the show. Want to give a couple closing remarks on what we have coming up here at How About That Cigar. Next week, we're going to be talking with Danny Vasquez about the relaunch of Voyage. Super excited. He's been kind of hot on the market on a lot of different shows. So excited to talk to him. On December 22nd, we're going to have our first annual How About That Cigar year in review show, where Matt and I are going to talk about, we're going to pull out this box of bands and go through, talk about some memories, some good sticks, some good times that we've had. And then on the 29th, we're going to reveal our picks for Cigar of the Year. So excited for that. Please be sure to subscribe and, hit the little bell, hit the, notify me when we go live on Facebook and YouTube. But John, please let viewers and listeners know where they can find more about you, what you're doing, Developing Palates, all that jazz.
Thanks, brother. And looking forward to those shows. Those should be good ones. I love this time of the year when we get into the end of the year discussions. They're always passionate and fun. Of course, for other stuff, Developing Palates. It's easy. You just got to be able to learn how to spell palates right. It's not Pilates. It's not wooden palates. It is, in fact, your actual palate on your tongue. So if you search for Developing Palates, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. If you listen to podcasts, which I do quite a bit, Developing Palates on all the podcast catchers. If you want to tag me and stuff, I'm the same on all social media. Just look for Cigar Surgeon, one word, Cigar Surgeon, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find me out there and tag me. Always look forward to the interactions. That's kind of what makes it fun for me.
Absolutely. Well, again, thanks again. And for all the viewers and listeners, thank you so much for your continued support. And until we see you next time, burn cigars, not bridges. Thanks, everybody.